Welcome to EPG Patashala. I am Prof.G. Vedaparayana, retired from the Department of Philosophy, Sri Venkateshwara University, Tirupati. Now we are going to take up the paper on Indian religion and philosophy, and the module I am going to teach is the Carvaka system of philosophy. And Carvaka system of philosophy is one of the very popular unorthodox and also atheistic philosophies in India. It is atheistic, it is unorthodox in the sense it doesn't accept the authority of the Vedas, and also it doesn't believe in the existence of God. And this philosophy is also known as materialism, in the sense only matter is the ultimate reality, and everywhere there is matter, there is no spirit at all. And human being is also full of body only. And even if you say that there is spirit in the body, that spirit is also the product of the body only, but it is not independent of the body. So this is what we are going to see in the course of this lecture. So the objectives of learning for this lesson on Carvaka system are as follows. First, introduction, the epistemology of Carvaka and metaphysics of Carvaka, ethics of the Carvaka system, and then we are going to make some concluding remarks. As a part of introduction, we want to know who is the originator, author of this system, and what are the sources of this philosophy. This materialism or Carvaka system of philosophy is a metaphysical theory which holds that matter is the only reality. It explains mind and consciousness as the epiphenomenon of matter, reduces higher phenomena to the lower ones, references to the Vedas, Buddhist literature and epics, but there is no systematic work of any organized school of its followers. In the sense, this is a metaphysical theory of materialism, in the sense its metaphysics is based on materialism, which holds that matter is the only reality, and explains even the mind and consciousness as the epiphenomenon. Epiphenomenon means it is the product of matter. Without matter, there is no mind or there is no consciousness. And also, as regards the sources of this system, we do not have authentic source except what Brihaspati is said to have written, that is Tattvoplava Sinha, that we are going to deal with shortly. Other than this, there are references to Carvaka system in other schools like Buddhism, Jainism and Vedas as a part of criticism of that school, but not as the source material of this school. So in Indian philosophy, materialism must have arisen as a protest against the excessive monkdom of the Brahmana priests, protest against externals of ritualism, the idealism of Upanishads, and also because of exploitation of the masses by the petty rulers, monks and political and social crises of the Upanishadic period. Materialism, however, died soon when Jainism and Buddhism with their ethical and spiritual backgrounds came into existence. See, that is, this philosophy was not so popular because there is not much ethics in this. It questions everything, and even it questions Vedas are only means of livelihood for monks, for Brahmins and all that. So therefore, this system is not very popular, and it has died down, and particularly because of the very strict ethical rules of Jainism and Buddhism, people have got attracted to these two schools, but not materialism of the Carvaka philosophy. And Brihaspati, a heretical teacher, is said to be the founder of this Carvaka system. Thinker by name Carvaka, as the founder of this school, is the chief disciple of Brihaspati. Carvaka is not a proper name, but a common name given to materialists. It signifies, that is the term Carvaka signifies, a person who believes in the principle of eat, drink and be merry. And the root of this Carvaka comes from char, which means to eat or chew. Therefore, Carvaka means one whose words are sweet and who is sweet-tongued and doctrine is superficially attractive. So, the materialism is based on the very attractive principle, eat, drink and be merry, and therefore this system is founded by the person whose words were very sweet, and Carvaka means a person who is always talking about pleasures and not pains at all. And as I have already referred, Brihaspati is said to be the first teacher, and Carvaka by name, person by name Carvaka was said to be his disciple. And we need not believe that the term Carvaka applies to the person who has the forerunner of this system. It also means, as an adjective, it also means the one who always gives very sweet words, attractive words. So Carvaka also means that who eats up his own words, all moral and ethical considerations. Carvaka is a synonym of lokayata, which means a commoner who is of low and unrefined tastes. Arch heretic, Nastika Siromane, is the other name given to the materialists. Materialists is one who think themselves to be wise and experts in leading people to ruin. In Majjhima Nikaya, that is one of the systems one of the scriptures in Buddhism has a reference to the famous Carvaka by name Makkali Goshala, who is believed to be and also another person who is known to be a Carvaka is Ajita Kesha Kambalin. So he was also preaching the philosophy of pleasure, and Buddha came into contact with him, and Buddha taught that his philosophy was wrong, and he was defeated in argumentation with Buddha, that is Ajita Kesha Kambali. And there is another belief that as a sutra of Brihaspati perished, no original source of this school is extant. One source of later origin, namely Tattvoplava Sinha of Jayarasi Bhatta, is the important source of this school. And other sources of this school, as I mentioned in the form of introduction, are those that are given in the works of other schools. We have to remain satisfied with the meager and one-sided accounts of this school. And perception is the only authoritative means of true cognition according to Carvaka. And only four elements, namely earth, water, fire and air, are the realities. So this also gives a very essence of the Carvaka system, that only four elements are real, and also apart from these four elements which are of matter, there is nothing else. And also there is only this world. Apart from this world, there is no other world. And therefore, enjoyment in this world is the only aim of the people. There should be no other goal. Only enjoyment of this life should be the goal of every person, and moksha is not the ultimate goal of human life. So then we come to epistemology of Carvaka. And as I said just now, perception is the only valid means of knowledge. Inference is a process from known to unknown, is a mere leap in the dark. No certainty of inference, although in certain cases it turns out to be true. No guarantee that it will hold true even in unperceived cases. Deductive inference suffers from the fallacy of petitio principii. See, the peculiarity of this epistemology of Carvaka is they accept only one pramana, that is perception. And perception also, there is only direct perception. There is no indirect perception also. Direct perception means which I see through my own sense organs, which I can understand through my own mind. And there is no place for any other kind of perception apart from direct perception. And they criticize even inference as the valid source of knowledge, which means they reject inference also as the valid source of knowledge, because inference means from depending on the known things to say that I know the unknown things. So what these people say, you are taking a leap from the known to the unknown. Taking a leap means you are jumping from the known to the unknown. In jumping like that to the unknown, you may fall into darkness. Here darkness means false knowledge. You may come to to that which is false. Therefore, we should not depend on inference also. Whereas inference is a very important means of knowledge in other schools of Indian philosophy. And we are going to see how the other philosophers criticize the Carvaka, rejecting their rejection of inference. Then they take up inductive, inference or inductive knowledge is also uncertain, for it proceeds from the known to the unknown without proper basis. It jumps from the truth of a few instances to the truth of all instances. And simple enumeration is more certain than induction. The Carvaka regards the invariable relationship of concomitance as a matter of guesswork. Causal relation between two instances cannot be proved by repeated perceptions. Inference also cannot prove it, for inference itself is presupposes its validity. Induction is uncertain and deduction is an argument in circle. That is, again, these people are criticizing inductive part of inference also. Inference, it is of two kinds, that is induction and deduction. And deduction suffers from the fallacy of circular argument, because what is deduced from the major premise is dependent on the conclusion, which means conclusion is already contained in the major premise. Therefore, deducting what is already contained in the major premise, we cannot say that we have arrived at a new kind of knowledge. In the inductive inference, what is happening is we know few particulars, and then we jump to the conclusion that all are true. In the sense, for example, if I know this crow, a few crows I observe, one crow, second crow, third crow, fourth crow, and I see that all crows are black. And I jump to the conclusion that every crow is black. But these people do not accept that kind of inductive argument, because how can you be sure that all crows in the world that were there in the past, that are there in the present, that will be there in future, will be black? There may be a white crow somewhere we have not seen. Therefore, inductive argument, inductive inference cannot also give us a very sure or true conclusion. This is how they criticize inference. In rejecting inference, Carvaka is in agreement with Sunyavada or Advaita Vedanta. Carvaka rejects inference without making a distinction between empirical and trans-empirical knowledge. And refusing the validity of inference is to refuse to think and discuss. It is through inference and all thoughts, judgments, discussions are made possible. The world of thoughts and ideas can only be inferred and not perceivable. See, this is a sort of criticism that we can level against Carvaka's rejection of inference. How even the Carvaka can know things without taking resort to inference, because inference involves thinking, more association of ideas, and judgmental thinking is involved in inference. Even if Carvaka is criticizing the means of inference as the source of knowledge, what he is doing, he is not perceiving and criticizing it. In criticizing inference, he is also inferring many things, which means the very idea of criticizing implies that you are inferring that it is right or wrong. So therefore, as long as you are thinking, as long as you are rationalizing, as long as you are comparing and contrasting, it is a process of inference. So life is not at all possible without taking recourse to inferential kind of knowledge, inferential kind of thinking. So therefore, Carvaka's criticism of inference cannot be taken as valid. The Carvakas themselves are using the means called inference in order to criticize the theory of inference. So Carvaka's rejection of inference involves self-contradiction. Based on inference only, Carvaka can argue perception is valid and inference is invalid. Perception is also liable to error. This is what they have to recognize. And perceiving the earth as being flat and static when it is actually elliptical and moving. Perceiving the distant stars and as being small in size when in reality they are far bigger. Perceptual knowledge is often contradicted by inference. Pure perception in the sense of mere sensations is not a means of knowledge. See, how can we say that perception is valid? If Carvakas are criticizing inference and saying that perception can be the only source of knowledge, even perception is also liable to error. For example, if I see earth, I am seeing the earth, but I see it as static, and also I see it as a globe, but in fact earth is rotating around itself and around the sun, and it is also elliptical in shape. So therefore, how do you know that it is elliptical in shape? How do you know that it is not static and it is moving? It is only by inferential, by rational thinking, by scientific thinking. Just even senses deceive us. If I see an object in darkness, I mistake it for something else. So perception also should not be taken as it is. You have to think more or twice or thrice about your perception knowledge, then only you have to come to a conclusion, which means you are taking the help of inference in order to make sure that the knowledge you have derived from perception is valid. So perception by itself cannot be a reliable source of knowledge, cannot be a complete source of knowledge. This is the criticism leveled against Carvaka system's criticism of inference. So Carvaka's own argument and reason for the rejection of inference itself presupposes the inference as the valid means of knowledge. Carvaka regards verbal testimony as uncertain source of knowledge. It accepts testimony as valid insofar as words are heard through our own ears, since what is heard is equivalent to what is perceived. Knowledge of words is as good as knowledge through perception. Testimony becomes invalid insofar as words suggest things that are not within our perception. It rejects Vedas as the valid means of knowledge. So here I want to deal something more about the verbal testimony. What is the attitude of Carvaka's to third kind of means of perception, that is verbal testimony. See, these people accept verbal testimony as far as it is directly related to us. In the sense, if I hear somebody's words through my own ears, directly from the person, then only I can take the verbal testimony as means of valid source of knowledge. But if you say that somebody has said this, therefore I have to accept, that is not a valid source of verbal testimony. That is, this is what we call, we say hearsay. Hearsay means what somebody else has, third person has said, and the second person is coming and informing that information as knowledge. Then I don't accept, according to Carvaka. So direct perception is maybe through eyes or through ears. But if it is indirect perception of verbal testimony, we should not rely on it, including the words of Vedas and Upanishads. Because we don't know what is the source of these Vedas and Upanishads. We don't know who has written it. Therefore, we can't argue with them. We cannot verify whether what Vedas and Upanishads are saying true or false. So therefore, they reject even the Vedas as the valid means of verbal testimony. Then we come to the metaphysics of Carvaka. After having considered the epistemology of Carvaka, what is the means of knowledge, and how many means of pramana they have accepted, and we have seen that only perception, direct perception, that is pratyaksha in Sanskrit, alone is the reliable source of knowledge. And we have also seen how the others have criticized the Carvaka epistemology of accepting only perception and rejecting inference and verbal testimony. So now metaphysics. So metaphysics, as we have already said, it accepts only the reliability of perceivable objects or perceptible object. God, soul, heaven, life before, after death are not real. Unperceived law is also not true. Only the material objects whose existence alone can be perceived are real. Only four elements, that is water, earth, air, fire, alone are eternal and true. Production and dissolution is particular combination and separation of elements. Consciousness or mind is a mere product of the same material elements. It is found in association with the body and the disappearance when the body disintegrates. This is the crux of Carvaka metaphysics, that only four elements are there, and combination of dissolution of these four elements is responsible either for the creation or the dissolution of this universe. And there is nothing like unseen power, there is nothing like a God who is responsible for the creation of this universe. And the elements themselves, they come together, they interact together, and then there is what is known as the creation. And if they resolve into their own elements, then there is dissolution. And there is no atoms also, as we have seen in other systems. Atoms are there in these four elements. So atomic reality is not also accepted here, only elemental reality is accepted. Four ultimate reals, four eternal reals, which are of the nature of matter, that we have to bear in mind. Water, fire, air and earth are full of matter only. There is nothing spiritual in these four elements. Then production of consciousness is similar to production of a red color by the combination of betel, arecanut and lime. No element contains consciousness, and there is a combination and production of consciousness. It is the result of an emergent and dialectical evolution of matter only. Matter secretes mind as liver secretes bile. Nobody has seen consciousness without the body. It is only consciousness living in the body, God or supernatural element is not necessary to account for the world. So this is what I have already hinted at the beginning, that consciousness is only the epiphenomenon of the elements. Just as if we mix lime, arecanut and betel nut, we get a red color. So also, if these four elements they come together, they produce what is known as consciousness. So therefore, consciousness doesn't have independent existence. Mind also doesn't have independent existence. Just as if we keep grapes in water for a few days, then it gets some kind of element called intoxication. So intoxication, the quality of intoxication that is coming out of grapes that are soaked in water is not independent of grapes. It is because grapes are deeply soaked, they give rise to the quality called intoxication. So consciousness is like intoxication in the grapes. So it is also a material production. It is not that it is independently existing apart from matter. Identification of soul with the body, the senses, with the breath or with the mind implies that the soul is the product of matter. No such things as values and talk about them is a foolish aberration. This school is atheistic, for it rejects God as the creator, sustainer and destroyer of this world. And material elements produce the world without any need for efficient cause. They have their own inherent and fixed nature, that is svabhava, and the laws according to which they combine together to form into the world. Identification of soul with the body. That is just as I have said that there is no independent consciousness or mind. Even these people are rejecting the existence of the soul also. Soul also is not independent of the body. If at all you say that there is any soul, it is only within the body, and you can never see soul apart from the body. And there are no values other than the value of enjoyment. So this is the other principle. These are the other principles of the metaphysics of Carvaka. These elements have their own power to associate or disassociate. There is no need for the principle called adrushta or the efficient cause called God for these things to produce the world. And there is no proof that the objects of the world are the product of any design. They can be explained more reasonably as the fortuitous products of elements. The world has no conscious purpose. It is only materialistic. The world is only materialistic, mechanistic, positivistic, for it believes in the positive facts. Other schools have criticized Carvaka's materialistic concept of consciousness. There are certain mental states like dreams where consciousness may be said to exist without the living body. So generally what we believe is there is some kind of design behind this world. Design means there is some planner. It is happening, or this world is surviving according to some plan, some design. But these people do not accept there is no pre-design or preordained or pre-established harmony that is there behind this world. It is not acting or it is not existing according to some plan given by God or somebody else. It is there, fortuitous. What does it mean? Fortuitous means there is nobody that who is controlling this world according to his own desires, according to his own choice and all that. For chooses world means it's a meaningless world. Why there is a world? It is meaningless. Why I am born and why I am dying? It is meaningless. We cannot say that I am born for the purpose, for this cause, and also world is there for this cause. So all these things they do not accept. It's a meaningless world. Our life is a meaningless life. We just take birth, we live here, and we just die. We should not ask for what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of life, and searching for these, for the answers of these questions is foolish according to Carvaka thinkers, and even raising such questions or asking such questions. What is the purpose of my life? What is the ultimate goal of my life? What should I do here? What is the perfect way of living? These questions, according to Carvaka philosophy, are meaningless questions. You are born, just enjoy this life, and then you are automatically going to die here only, because you are only matter composed of 4 elements. And these 4 elements, when the time comes, they dissociate themselves and merge into other 4 eternal elements. My body is containing earth, water and fire. And fire goes into fire, earth goes into earth, and air goes into air, and other part of also it goes into its own primordial reality. So when the 4 elements cease to exist in my body, then I will die. This is the only way of explanation of the entire world, human being, and we should not give any kind of metaphysical explanations or spiritual explanations for the existence of the world or for the existence of a human being. See, one of the criticisms that is leveled against the Carvaka philosophy is consciousness can be there independent of the body. How? When we have dreams, arising out of the dream, we disown the dream body but own the dream consciousness. When a person gets up after seeing a tiger in a dream, he realizes that the tiger is unreal, but the fact that he saw the tiger in a dream remains a fact. Proof that consciousness persists through the 3 stages of waking, dream and deep sleep is the proof that consciousness can be said that it is existing independently. So let me just explain it further. If we say that consciousness or mind cannot exist independent of the body, how can you account for the feelings, account for the thoughts, account for memory? All these things are not directly dependent on the body. See, the fact that I remember the tiger that I have seen is a fact that there is some kind of mind, thought or consciousness independent of the body. And also the Advaita puts forward another argument that consciousness is there in waking life, in dream life and deep sleep life. See, if you get up from deep sleep, if I ask you how did you sleep, I say I had a very deep sleep. And who is saying that? Is body saying that? No, I had some kind of consciousness even while I was asleep. So therefore now I am able to say I had a deep sleep. And if I had a dream in my sleep, I am able to say after getting up that I had a dream. Dream of a tiger, dream of some people, some objects. So that consciousness is still there independent of my body. Therefore I am able to say that I have seen something in my dream, and also in deep sleep I had perfect sleep. Consciousness of the perfect sleep is there apart from the body. That is how the Advaita Vedanta philosophers argue that Carvakas are wrong in rejecting the independent existence of consciousness or mind. We can put forward some more arguments in defense of the existence of consciousness as against Carvakas. So consciousness is something superior to the body the subject cannot be totally reduced to the object, the known, since the known objects presuppose the existence of the subject. Carvaka's argument that consciousness is not experienced without the material body is not the proof that consciousness is the product of the matter. Mere coexistence of body and mind cannot make the body as the cause of mind. So these are a few more arguments in defense of the existence of consciousness and against the Carvaka's rejection of the independent existence of consciousness. Just because body and consciousness are together, we cannot say that consciousness is depending on the body. We can also say in other way that body is dependent on consciousness, which is the idealists say that consciousness is the primary reality, body is the secondary reality. Whereas Carvaka say body is the primary reality and mind or consciousness is the secondary reality. So this cannot be accepted. This is what the critics have said. So it may be argued that the body is not the cause of consciousness but only an instrument for the manifestation of consciousness. Consciousness cannot be said to be the property of the body. If it is so, it should be known like the property of matter. It is intimately private and the consciousness of the one cannot be shared by all. Argument that the existence of the soul surviving death cannot be demonstrated. It cannot be argued that its non-existence too cannot be demonstrated. See, if what is the challenge that Carvakas have, that they ask us to show the existence of consciousness as the existence of the body. Show where is the consciousness. But this is not a very good argument, they say. Unless there is consciousness independently existence of the body cannot, exist. In the sense, consciousness is manifesting through the body. It doesn't mean that, consciousness is dependent on the body. Consciousness is only manifesting through the body, which is already there, which means consciousness is already there before the body. And we are seeing it through the body. And if you say that yes, something is seen through something else, that secondary reality or the means for manifestation cannot be taken as the primary reality. So, in many of the systems in Indian philosophy, consciousness is a pure existence, is an independent existence, and it manifests in all material things, whether it is a human being, whether it is an animal, whether it is an object, whether it is a tree or a bird. Everything in this world has the element of consciousness. So therefore, because we are able to see consciousness only through body, it is not correct to say that consciousness doesn't exist independently of the body. Then we come to another important section of this philosophy, that is the ethics of Carvaka. According to Carvaka, sensual pleasure is the supreme value of life. Principle of eat, drink and be merry now, for tomorrow is not ours. Once the body is reduced to ashes, there is no hope of coming back here again. There is no other world, and the soul does not survive death. All the values are false, and they are created by the mentally sick people. Religion is only means of livelihood of the priests. So, I have already said in the introduction that these people accept only the existence of now, only the existence of today. Next moment you may not be there. Tomorrow you may not be there. Therefore, enjoy whatever it is there now itself. And everything is uncertain in this world. And no other values. And even religion is false. Don't accept any religion. Don't follow any religion. Because religions are created by the priests for their own livelihood. And there are no values. Values are, discovered only by the mentally sick people. People who are not able to live very actively, very, very pleasant life, they only talk of values that be good, don't do this, don't do that. There are no values for a man who is very strong, very, fearless and all that. This is the, kind of morals these people are preaching. Eat, be merry, drink and be merry, enjoy. Tomorrow may not be ours. There is no life after death. Don't think that there is no life after death, and don't think that there was life before this life. No. There is no punarjanma. There is no rebirth at all. This is the only birth. So therefore, don't be afraid that if you do something wrong, follow wrong values, you may have to suffer in the next life. There is no next life at all. So this is how these people are making our lives purely materialistic, purely, we should say, immoral, unethical life. And only value in this life is pleasure. Pleasure is the only ultimate value. So therefore, this philosophy, ethics of this philosophy is known as individual hedonism of the sensual pleasures of the individual is the end of life. Only kama is the, in the sense of sensual pleasure is valid. Artha is the sense of wealth, in the sense of wealth is valid, for it helps as the means of realizing kama. Rejects dharma and moksha as being, values at all, as being no values at all. Although pleasure is always associated with pain, yet it is no reason to avoid pleasure. No God as the efficient cause of producing the world out of four elements. No God as the controller of our life and destiny. So this is another way of putting the ethics of Carvaka. And we know in Indian system there are four important values that everybody should follow. What are those four values? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Almost all the systems accept these four values. But only this system, that is Carvaka system, accepts only two values. And also of the two values, Kama is the primary value. Kama means desire. Whatever you desire, enjoy. Don't put a stop to it. So Kama is the only value that one should follow. It is the ultimate value. And why Artha is also a value? Because Artha helps for the enjoyment of Kama. If you want to enjoy life, you need money. Artha means money. So therefore, they have given place in their ethics even to the value of Artha. So of the four Purusharthas, Artha and Kama, or Kama and Artha are the only two values these people accept, and they reject Dharma and Moksha as values. They are not values at all. You need not follow any Dharma in this life. And they also say Moksha is not a value at all, in the sense there is nothing like Moksha, liberation from suffering. Suffering is there in life, no doubt. But you follow pleasure, avoid suffering. No doubt, even following pleasure also gives rise to pain. But it doesn't mean that you should not follow pleasure. Even though there is pain in following pleasure, follow pleasure. Try avoid suffering. Therefore, this is the peculiar system which accepts Kama as the primary value. And liberation in the sense of destruction of all suffering can be obtained only by death. Virtue and vice distinctions made by scriptures which cannot be rationally accepted. Neither revelation nor virtue should be our end. Wealth and enjoyment are the only rational ends that a wise person should achieve. So this is another kind of explanation that wealth and also desire are necessary in this life. We should not go after any other kind of values. Because there is no moksha, and if you want to overcome suffering, if at all there is any suffering in this life, only death is the solution, not the other way of achieving moksha or liberation from pain. What is Jivan Mukta or Videha Mukta? All these values are not valid or not true according to Carvaka system. So as a matter of summary or concluding remarks, we can say that a Carvaka ethics is a materialistic kind of ethics which has led to its own downfall. The rejection of the authority of the Vedas, the denouncement of Brahmana priests, and the Jaina and the Buddhist ethics have contributed to its demise. Denial of the human values is the main cause of the contempt for Carvaka. Life without the supreme values like dharma and moksha is equivalent to animal life. Sensual pleasures are only the shadows of the supreme pleasures sought by the philosophers or the enlightened human beings. So therefore, this system has been put to a lot of criticism because their gross sensual pleasures are meant only for animals like pigs, and refined materialists accommodate the value of dharma as their philosophy. Enjoyment of pleasures should be in accordance with dharma. Vaschayana recommends the desirability of sensual pleasures, yet regard dharma as the value to be followed in acquiring pleasures. Man is not a mere biological being, but a psychological, a rational and moral agent. See, this is how this philosophy of Carvaka has been put to criticism, in the sense that even great thinkers, very, very famous thinkers, have accommodated dharma as the important value in life. Even Vaschayana. Who is Vaschayana? Vaschayana is the author of Kama Sutras, which is well known all over the world. Even Vaschayana has accepted dharma. If you want to enjoy Kama, follow dharma. Don't deceive a woman and enjoy her. If you want to enjoy a woman, according to Vaschayana's Kama Sutras, you should give her pleasure, not deception or pain. So therefore, dharma is important even if you want to pursue the value of Kama. Vaschayana himself has accepted dharma. Therefore, how is it that these Carvaka philosophers reject one of the supreme values known as dharma? Without dharma, life becomes meaningless, and life without dharmic value is equivalent to animal life. Gross pleasures. Gross pleasures means without knowing the subtle element, the finer elements or finer enjoyments. Finer enjoyments means intellectual pleasures. Why do you go for bodily pleasures? You read a novel, you read a good book, then you get pleasure. Why do you think that only bodily pleasures alone are pleasures? And also you meditate. Through meditation you get into a very fine state of mind. That is also happiness or pleasure. So intellectual pleasures or mental pleasures or spiritual pleasures are more important than bodily pleasures. Therefore, these Carvaka philosophers, having given importance only to bodily pleasures, have destroyed themselves. Therefore, they became unpopular. Therefore, soon after Carvaka philosophy, Jainism and Buddhism came into existence. And these Jainism and Buddhism have given excellent ethics. Life should be based on morals always, strict ethics. Buddhism, Ashtanga Yoga, and Jainism, gives a number of ethical principles, very strict ethical principles. And having come across Jainism and Buddhism, many people have rejected this Carvaka philosophy as a very misleading philosophy, as a destructive kind of philosophy. We forget our own responsibilities, we forget our own potentialities. Potentialities in the sense you can become greater than an animal, greater than an ordinary kind of human being if you concentrate on the intellect, on the spirit, on consciousness instead of body and sense organs and also the objects of enjoyment that are there in the world. So we can transform animal pleasures into human pleasures through education. So Carvaka system is a specimen of the Indian skepticism of an extreme type. It goes to logical conclusions of refusing the existence of even physical elements and also perceptual knowledge. And it is anti-intellectualist, pragmatist with a relentless destructive dialectic. Even the denial of the theoretical principles and doctrines, practical life will go on as ever. So this is another kind of criticism leveled against this system, that they have not given importance to what is education. See, education transforms human being in the sense, through education you come to the higher stage of enjoying life. And another thing, this system is a skeptical system, not only a materialistic system, a gross skeptical system in the sense they question everything. They question and they doubt everything. So this doubt has gone to the extreme extent in Carvaka philosophy. So gross doubting is not healthy. We can use skepticism or doubting things only to the extent of arriving at true knowledge, not just refuting, trying to refute everything. If you want to know that if there is God or not, if you are skeptical about the existence of God or not, you cannot take to gross arguments to reject the existence of God, and you have to doubt and then come to the truth by proper inquiry. Thank you.